welcome. Okay, well, today I have Dr. Millicent Black. She's here. She's going to be talking about her petition to stop false diagnoses, and also to a new devotional that she has out. So we're going to jump into those things. So without further ado, we welcome Dr. Millicent E. Black.
Good afternoon. How is everyone doing?
Ooh, you're beautiful. Everything. I mean, it seems like you're up, you're ready, and ready on a roll, ready to do this. You know what I mean?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Everybody, I think everybody can hear clearly, and it's working. You know, I've been up working both laptops and my camera, because you know what we go through. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello and happy holidays.
Yeah, got through 'em, getting through 'em.
One, so the sector dot, okay, two. And then the rest of them are just, and then you got two, was it two? Three mat exercises.
Okay. Then we'll go into onside.
Who's that talking? Is that Eden?
There's a woman whose face I see a lot.
This is Dana. I'm sorry, I just connected.
Oh, hi, Dana.
Hello.
I don't think I met you before. Well, I probably have. I don't know. You know how they go, memory.
From Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit. Oh, hi. Yeah. Okay. Welcome. Welcome. Okay. It's Dr. Millicent, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Early last week, I put out I reintroduced a petition that I had written back in March of this year that got taken down. Supposedly there was some language in it that was opposed by someone who they were or what they were doing.
Can't hear you.
I said I had a petition that I placed up on change.org in March, and it was taken down after a few days without me ever actually understanding why. So I decided to put it back up because last year, Liliana DeLuca and myself had talked about, and it may have been the year before, about me writing a letter to congressional leaders that addressed the fact that many of us had started in this program as children. And now, because most of us are 60 and over, we're considered elderly. And so now we're being faced with elder abuse.
Yeah.
And we wanted to ask for it to be made to stop. So I chose to use a part of the same title that I used for a petition that I'd had up for 11 years and had gotten over 8,000 signatures, which the current one is to stop false diagnosis and illegal human experimentation that leads to torture. That the current petition, as did the one that I developed in March, actually named lawsuits that had been brought by victims of torture and or medical malpractice that were settled. And those lawsuits can address our issues as well. So my desire was to bring attention to the decision makers, both congressional as well as the Human Rights Commission, on torture as cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, so that there would be laws established that would protect us, not just protect us, but I'm also asking that they would bring an end to this cruel and illegal treatment or mistreatment of us as humans. I added U.S. citizens to the actual title of the petition. So the petition's been up for over a week now. I think I have near 100 signatures. The one in March, I had asked that they would at least link it to the first petition so that people will understand that I've been fighting this battle for over 11 years. And again, that first petition had 8,000 signatures, over 8,000 signatures. I also have a second petition out there that's also asking that law enforcement will be investigated for
Yeah,
ignoring our pleas for help.
yes.
So I currently have two petitions at change.org that is designed to bring attention to the plight of the victims of violence, which we are called treasured targeted individuals. Now, something that is not known or little known by the public is that we are not just targeted individuals for military training, but also we are human trafficked for development of military grade technology that's used for war. That's something that I believe we need to take more time to expose to the nation and around the world. So it's not just a light thing. I mean, they're not just tickling our chins at night, but they're literally firing on our bodies, damaging our organs, and certainly giving us Havana syndrome, which is a result of intense brain injury, traumatic brain injury that comes from the constant assaults to our brain, our head, neck, faces, even by the weapons that are used to extract data from us or to input data into our brains and our heads.
Yes. It's just, I mean, some days I can feel the effects more than others. When I wake up in the morning, and I'm sure you go through the same thing. It's like everything has been wiped out from the day before, from the previous day. I have no memory of what I talked about, just little things, but even the business, I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. And then it may come back later. So it's like it's poured back in, like you said, in the middle of the night when they're turning on their instruments. I think I mean, you're right. We know that that's right on. So I like the way, the idea of putting that out there, let them see, and that we are that we're human, and we are on the U.S. soil and being experimented and trafficked. So sad. So sad.
I have recently been kind of delving into the idea of us being able to use the alien tort law as a cause of action, simply because the changes that are being made to our bodies as a result of them implanting technology into us without our consent actually changes our makeup. And to some parts of the nation, they want to be able to call us transhuman. Well, if there's been any changes to our human structure, it's been without our consent, without our active participation. It is causing us intense pain and aggravation that is designed to lead to our death, per Lynn Segala, a former Lockheed Martin scientist, who also wrote with former Ohio Representative Dennis Kucinich a bill called the Space Preservation Act. So this technology was termed exotic. Exotic meaning you're not your everyday run-of-the-mill, run into the dime store type weapons, but things for which we have been being used that is getting more and broader, smaller and smaller, and possibly more and more difficult to detect. Consequently, it causes us great difficulty, not just to find it, but also to prove that it's being used to harm us. However, with a body scan and frequencies that can be tracked from the FCC databases, we're able to actually show what contractors is developing technology using our bodies that is causing us harm, that could lead to our death. And certainly the implantation of these technologies is changing our physical makeup of DNA and mRNA, which Dr. Anna Halstead has been making a lot of strides in researching and producing lots of evidence that those changes can be tracked. Consequently, I would still push for us being able to use, if not add, the Alien Tort Act as a cause of action in a lawsuit.
So and doing and signing the petition, what do you think, would you like a favorable outcome to be for the petitions?
For me right now, it's picking up numbers because numbers count. Every time the petition is signed, a copy of that petition goes to every member of Congress, both senators and House of Representatives. It's also being directed to the president, to the governor of many states, as well as to the Human Rights Commission for the United Nations on torture. So I mean, every time it's signed, so if it's signed 100 times a day, a copy of that petition goes to those persons 100 times a day. That's going to get attention.
That's right. Oh, so I learned something new today. I didn't know that that change.org would make that much of a big impact. I know it did, but I mean, several times a day, depending on each time it's signed, that is a great impact. So everybody, I'm gonna put it in the link. I know I put it on the flyer, but I'll put it in the link as well to make sure that everybody on the call that we are knowledgeable and have it signed. So thank you for that. So and I know that
It'll make a difference.
yes,
It will make a difference. And when you call your congressman's office, if they say we don't know anything about it, you can remind them of the petition and say to them, well, I checked, and do check before you call. I checked, and as of today, 7,000 people or 500 people or 20 people have signed this petition, and you should have received it 20 times. Please check your email.
yes. Okay. Amen. And I see there's chat, there's things happening in the chat, so I'll get to the chat in a few maybe questions, stuff like that when it's that time. I know that you have been through, it's been a busy for you the last three months. It's been, you're a warrior, and so with the FBI, the recent events of happening of him stepping down, the head of the FBI stepping down. How do you feel about that with the way we've been pounding the pavement, getting this whole program out there? How do you feel that that's making an impact towards that decision for him to step down?
I haven't read the articles closely, but just off the cuff, it says kind of a dual message. One of them, he could be stepping down because of the usual change of the guard from the newly elected president. And two, he could be distancing himself from the accusations of former FBI whistleblowers that have given us a heads up, or certainly given us an arm up in terms of support when we need to say, see, this is also happening to us. Up to now, the Havana Syndrome financing has only been provided to members of the federal government and their families. My estimation is if they were to begin to give us that up to $182,000, then the government would be admitting that they have been, or that they have cause to believe that we are being wounded by such same technology. And when it actually comes out of the actual causes of the injuries, then we can prove by our own documentation as well as investigation that we have been being used by illegally for experimentation.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like it was, even if he steps down, you know what I mean? Because we want to go after the head, the people are in. So even if he steps down, we want to make sure that he gets no peace because there's still blood on his hand. You know what I mean? So I think it's applaud that God is working. We're praying for the whole government to be cleansed, righteous. I mean, God gives whoever He wants, but we want to cleanse that government. So even with it happening now, God is sovereign, and God has shown how Trump is there. Regardless of how you feel about that, God's hand is on him. You know what I mean? God is working. So, what do you feel about he sees Robert Duncan? He talked about this program being ending actually in 2025, the first year. How do you feel about that?
I heard some terrifying news I think maybe just this morning about 2025. Has not God been moving? And thankfully, He always is. One of our former bishops had a saying, and I really appreciate it, and all the more today that God is always involved in the affairs of His people. But what I heard this morning is that had been a plan that as of January 1st, there'll be a shift from the regular worship of the living God to a death cult, and that there are those who have been placed in position to cause this to come to pass. So I am very delighted that the decision has been to continue to serve the living God, to exalt and magnify and recognize that God is keeping covenant with His people because we are able to walk in the light and we will not have to walk in the dark. So 2025 is scheduled to hold so many different kinds of twists and turns that were we not praying, and if we don't continue to pray, things could go downhill pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I know that you host several prayer visuals, like all night prayer visuals, and I know that you're gonna have something coming for Christmas. What do you have to say? Because we know that we need prayer. We know that we had the show before, spiritual battle, spiritual warfare, and it really is. I mean, we are seeing things that I thought when I was growing up, I watched on TV, the science. I loved science fictions and science, things flying in the air and read your mind was cartoon science fiction. And we are in those days now. So we know.
You better believe it. In fact, when we think about it, and it gets a lot of kind of creepy type of reaction, we're dealing with science, physics, and mathematics.
Mhm.
Science, physics, and mathematics. When you look at it from that perspective, it brings it down to earth. However,
That's good.
Dr. Duncan's, one of his books was How to Tame a Demon, and he did not spell it the way we normally spell it. I believe he was incorporating the terms of those particular practices of using physics, science, and mathematics to develop the technologies that are being used to what we are now calling electronic witchcraft. But you see how it's been being subtly implemented, subtly brought into our conscious space. Would you want to be in a single consciousness where everything was dark and all you had to play or think about was witchcraft and things that would take you away from the peace of God? One of the very important ways that we can know that something is wrong is when our peace is disturbed. And granted, there can be electronic peace piped to us, but the peace that God gives is way down on the inside. And multiple times I've been forced to look in other places, and I mean, I have to go to the Bible to find that peace, or to some of my favorite gospel songs to feel the presence of God moving, not just on the inside, but also within my situations and my circumstances. So it becomes an anchor, a very important anchor for us as Christians, for us as followers of Jesus Christ, for those of us who have committed ourselves to the victory of the cross and the blood that still works and has power to save us and redeem us.
Amen. Amen. I don't see myself even going through this program without being able to cry out to God, you know what I mean? Because most of the family members don't understand what, and so they distance themselves. So now that I've learned that I can't talk about all these things to this person because it makes them uncomfortable. So I have to be cognizant of how they feel as well. So my private and my cry out to God is that's who I know that I can fill it all and not look crazy. You know what I mean about this whole program. So yes, we need to have that relationship with the Holy Spirit of God to be able to talk to and not look crazy.
I do indeed understand what you're saying. Gratefully, we're able to have, at least I have, two sets of friends One said with whom I can talk about anything, and another said with whom I can only talk about targeting.
Right.
And when I say anything but targeting, let me correct that. So you're right. It helps us to have Christian friends with whom we can talk about targeting because we can pray together. We can support each other. I've got several at least, who can send me things that sometimes so funny that pulls me out of a slump.
Yeah.
We don't talk often, but just from time to time, hearing her voice is such an uplifting thing for me. We're both suffering, but we don't have to talk about it. We can look to other things, and certainly we point each other to Christ and to the victory that we have in spite of what we feel like. Look at yourself. I won't prop myself up, but look at how well you look. Look at what you're doing. You are literally continuing in the call of God on your life. You're literally working the vocation that God has established for you before the foundation of the world. And yet you targeted. How many years have you been targeted?
Well, the weapons came in 2018, but I think since 2004, maybe 20 years, could be longer. 20 years. '04 is when the ear thing happened. Whatever that was, felt like I was hitting the head, and that's when that. But I think I've been in there maybe longer, but I'll say 20 years. Me right now.
And I call that the grace of God. I don't believe anyone could walk through these horrible times that we have to live through without the power of God at work in our lives, and certainly on our behalf. Now, you mentioned being isolated. I experienced that, and it's very lonely. It's very painful for me because I am family oriented, and yet it's being used as a weapon. It's literally used as a weapon to break our hearts. And I've heard of people dying from a broken heart. Well,
Yeah.
I'm believing God that I can transfer enough of my love to him, and he will transfer enough of his love to me that will keep me going. However, I do believe that many TIs are isolated, and many of them live in deplorable conditions that make it necessary for us to pray for them, and not just pray, but to share with them in any way that we're able to, especially during this holiday season. I remember one year I invited anyone who could make it to my house for Thanksgiving could come for dinner.
Yeah.
I would like to do that this year, but my food and water is currently being poisoned,
Yeah.
and that could become a very serious health issue. So what I would like to do is invite you and you, those who are on the call and those who will become listeners in the near future, to our Christmas Eve candlelight and communion service. And that's from Refuge from the Storm Church, which is the church that was developed for the targeted community. And we will come together and we will have carols and scripture readings of the of the Christmas story, possibly a little sermonette or a meditation. And then we'll have communion together and light our candles in remembrance of Jesus's birth. What better way to spend the Christmas Eve? And since we become family by cause of the same activities being done against us, we're still able to support one another while we exalt and magnify the name of Jesus and the birth that day represents.
That's beautiful. Well, let me go. I see some text.
Read them. It's such a shame that they have separated religion, our church, and state. It's clearly a religion of Satanism. In God we trust means to follow Christ, who says, I love is the command, and to take care of the poor and poor in spirit. But here, even the churches close their doors. That's true. 6 days a week, Paul would have allowed people into his own home. I had a homeless elder woman sleeping in my car with me while I'm home. The churches have no excuse. Amen.
Wow.
That's
Well, my cap's off to those, and especially the one who wrote this, because she's willing to share even in her own lack with someone else, and that's to keep them out of the elements. That is such an important part of sharing, and literally living out the commandments, or what they are, it becomes a commandment. But the scriptures in Matthew 25:40, when Jesus said, I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was homeless, and you took me in. And so, and the end of that scripture was, inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these, my little ones, you've done it unto me. I did a message once that was called The Least of These, to give us a reminder of how important it is to not look over anyone in any position or any condition, lest it be us. And if it's not us, it could be our children or our grandchildren or any of our loved ones. And it's so important that we will be able to share with others, believing that we're paying it forward. And when we pay it forward, then God will cause that same blessing to come, if not back to us individually, into our families' lives.
Had another comment, when you were talking, it feels like, I, it says Ace, but who's writing I don't know who the person is, but, thank you for the comments. She's saying that she or he feels like a lab rat. Is there anything that anyone or any doctor that can diagnose or scan the V2K? That's what a question.
Well, you know that there are those, at least the one we do know, who scans for implants and can provide frequencies that are being used to take data from our bodies, is available. Without calling his name, he is available.
Yeah.
There is a fee for that. Now, as far as lab rat, I was called lab rat and guinea pig at the very beginning. I was also told the boys have new toys. And later I found out that a toy in this program is a woman under hypnosis.
Man.
So one of the ways that I combat the feeling of degradation that comes my way from being exposed in some of the most horrible ways, at least I did it a lot in the beginning. I look myself in the mirror and say, I love and accept myself completely. What they want us to do is cause everyone that has ever been in our lives that meant anything to us to walk away from us.
Yeah.
When they walk away from us, we're to fall into a condition of depression. And the last thing they want us to do is to walk away from ourselves. And so we refuse to do that by loving ourselves. And one of the ways to love yourself is look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I love and accept myself completely. And the accepting myself completely has to include the extra weight that they put on us, sometimes the changes in our facial structure, the length of our hair, whatever meant something to you, they want to take it from you, especially if it was a part of you. So when they start the decline, or the taking away of not just family and friends, but of all the precious treasures you find in yourself, you have to continue to accept yourself completely. I love and accept myself completely. One of my favorite songs, and I've sang it all my life,
Yeah.
is Yes, Jesus Loves Me. A little song the way you would learn as children. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. We are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. I've sang that song to myself, even driving to work in the mornings when I felt so down and so out. But it works and it helps us.
Yes, Jesus loves. Yeah, while we were
That's
kids,
it.
that was it.
That's it. Believe it or not, at about 18 months old, my little great grandbaby began to fall in love with that song. And I would put my phone on YouTube and put it on that song for the children's, as we would be together, and she would learn to reach for the phone every time I would come in. And then all of a sudden she started singing that song with it. She couldn't even talk, but she formed the words of that song.
Oh, man. So, well, on your, for Christmas, I'm excited now that I have, because, I'm married, and he is, just recently, you guys know that I'm married, and, was kind of in denial, still in a denial, but he has B2K. I think I just, came out, let some, he has B2K. And I kind of knew about it for the last 2 years. I'll catch him talking, but I just played it off in my mind, like, but, so the house has changed. Our house dynamic has changed. We were kind of like at war. That's how they wanted us to be at war, in a relationship, not to have a relationship, So my dynamics my has changed with my husband. I think the B2K is, and he's been dealing with it a long time. Didn't know what it was, probably schizophrenia he has a criminal record, falseman like me. And just recently went from 20/20 vision overnight to bipolar. So we went to the doctor, and I was like, well, I want to go with you. Let me know. No, I go by myself. I go. So he said they put some drops in his eyes. I said, what? What do you need to put drops in? To go to the eye doctor? You went to a regular. Oh yeah, it's all right. I'm grown. So now he's wearing bipolar overnight. So we have to be your false diagnosis, and even they're so bold. They're very bold right now to put nano or eye drops, right in for an appointment, just a physical, to put some eye drops in his eyes and didn't tell him not before. And they know that some people are so scared of the doctors. And some people follow, they treat their doctors like gods. We can't do that now, guys. We cannot treat our doctors. We don't supposed to treat any human like God, but we definitely can't. If you can avoid the doctor, we know that we have to do that. But if it's a must, we cannot leave everything that they're saying, because some of them most of them are bought out. And they're there to accomplish the mission. So
I'm glad you said that. You said three things actually. So let me go back to the first. You talked about your relationship with your husband, who you have acquired since being a target. And it turns out that he probably is also a target.
yes.
Perpetrators love to match us up.
Yes.
And in the matching of us up, they love to control the situation. They
Yes.
love to control the relationship.
Yes.
And when the relationship has served its purpose, they have a way of making it end suddenly. That happened to me.
Yes.
It takes a lot of work in a normal marriage.
Whew.
That 7-year itch is always present. And after the 7-year itch, there's a lot of adjustments that continue to have to be made as we age. Gratefully, at some point, you kind of grow into a place of peace with one another. When you're targeted, there's a lot less likelihood that will be a continuous thing for our lives. It gets funny here in the apartment because my central unit is controlled by the perpetrators. And when they don't like something that I'm saying or it gets upsetting for them, they turn on the central unit. And so it just came on.
Yes.
The other thing about relationships is you mentioned that a mental diagnosis for your husband. I read many years ago, probably when I was in the master's program for marriage and family therapy, an article that was entitled, and I'm going to get it correctly, so I'll paraphrase, Schizophrenia, the Black Disease. It was written by a white man or Anglican man. And in the article, he talked about the fact that African-American males get the diagnosis of schizophrenia, the false diagnosis of schizophrenia, more than any other diagnosis that's given for mental health to adult males. And he said the reason is that he calls it false is that usually when a man, especially an African-American man who's had so much difficulty adjusting in this society, when he loses his job or he loses his marriage or he breaks up with his girlfriend, something else traumatic, someone dies in his family that was very seriously or very close to him, this will throw them into a state of depression. And instead of treating them with an affective disorder, which is what that is, the affect, the cause and effect, with the man is displaying the affect of what has happened in his life. And once that situation has been dealt with in his emotions, he will then go on. He bounces back. All the other stuff that held him back leaves, and he continues to move forward. But the only problem with an African American male is that he moves forward with a diagnosis, a false diagnosis of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia simply means of two minds. You remember in the Bible in James, James wrote that a double-minded man receives nothing from the Lord. But I've also since learned that two minds could also mean a person with V2K.
Yeah.
Because I literally got a report, a written report, that said they found a second brainwave in my head. And that second brainwave was producing audio and visual brain stressors. So you see, there are several other ways that you can describe or diagnose a fit of depression with a woman or a man, but they also don't hold back holding that diagnosis for women either. So oftentimes women also given the false diagnosis of schizophrenia. Gratefully, lately I've seen them come down a bit, and they're giving the diagnosis of delusion. Sometimes they might say delusion of the persecutory type. And you could always argue, what do you mean delusional of the persecutory type? That means they think that you are imagining being persecuted. Well, that's not likely for a targeted individual. And if you keep your records correctly, you can show the bruises, the burns, the scratches, the blisters, you know what I'm saying? That proves you are not imagining these things, nor are you doing it to yourself. So I always encourage you to challenge these diagnoses, find out what they mean,
Right.
find out how many times you have to exemplify that particular behavior for them to give it to you, and then challenge it. If it's not true for you, don't wear it. That's
right.
still goes back to accepting, loving and accepting yourself completely. Love yourself enough to challenge people who treat you wrong and want to put wrong diagnoses on you.
That's right. Yeah, this made it meant to be what you said. You got to constantly tell yourself, I am worthy. You know, I'm beautiful. I'm strong. I am not what they say that I am. It's got to be a constant thing. They're confident on beating you down. So you got to constantly be like, Lord, you know, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. God is with me. He never just said that he'll be with me to the end. You know, it's just a constant feeding of positivity because of the constant beating of negative, right? So I like that.
And the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to Timothy, I believe, and he told him to stir himself up in his most holy faith.
Yeah.
And so for us, that could include
Yes.
not diagnosis, but affirmations of who I am in Christ.
Yes.
The Bible says that we're in God's intentions with that we will be conformed into his image.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more we see ourselves as God does, the better we're able to shake off the ways of the world and the words of the world that are designed to put us in a box or pull us down.
Yes.
Consequently, we can say what God says or what Christ says. I am the apple of his eye and I'm precious in his sight. As you've said, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. But how does God see me? And
Yeah.
when we think about what man can say, and they can say some hurtful things, we have to go back and clean ourselves up. John 15, verse 3 says we clean ourselves by washing with the water of the word.
Yes.
We go to the word of God and we begin to wash ourselves up with it so that we can wash off what the world says.
That's right. The filth of the world. And this program is definitely filth. So we have to remember we are the light of the world, not light of the world. And people are watching 24/7. They are watching. Are you open for questions now?
Certainly.
Okay. You guys, if anyone have a question they want to ask, you can go ahead. I know that, there we go. Yeah.
See 4 new messages. And Ace, if you want to come on and ask your question. Yeshua loves you. The word of Jesus is Jesus is. Yeah. If not, then we can.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, come on up.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, me.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, thank you. Thank you for doing this. It's nice to have contact or communication with other people who aren't going to say you're crazy, right? Because that's the typical response when you're experiencing this technology that is very science fiction, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
And thank you. Yeah, I've had quite a experience myself. I've started, I think I honestly started being a targeted individual when I was much younger because I had memories come back in 6th grade at space camp at NASA. So I think this has been going on for a long time, but the bulk of it started about a year ago. Or a couple years ago. It started out, it was like a gradual progression of like identity theft, hacking of all accounts, gangs. It seemed like, people going into my place, my residence, and putting objects there that weren't mine, is very subtle, and it increased hypervigilance. It almost seems like it's designed. It's like, and if that doesn't work, then they go another stage forward, right? They keep. It's like it was a continuous attack. There was this last year. I would be so happy when for 20 minutes the torture would stop. I had physical torture. I had everything from severe pain to it was like psychic attacks. They would, horrific. It felt like, somatic attacks. So somatic means relating to the body. It felt like entities, like crawling, like imagine like worms or shit crawling through your body. Sorry for the language. Like it was so horrific, the things that I've experienced. And it's like there's just no one that would believe if I told the whole story. I mean, it's stuff that's like supernatural, objects appearing, getting out of my car, had a coffee cup, getting out of my car to put some gas in, and I come back and there's chocolate on top. I know no one got into my car. How did that get there? Meetings with people that I don't think are people. But now I'm trying to do my best to stabilize. I'm not being physically tortured anymore. I'm being sound tortured by something I guess is called voice to skull, but I don't know how to get a doctor to believe me. And I don't know if an MRI or a CT scan is appropriate. I don't know what type of testing to even ask for. I have pulsing throughout my body. I have numbness in my tongue. I have muscle spasms now all the time that I didn't used to have. And then I have a 24/7, what seems like an artificial intelligence program. I was never here, and now I can hear my own thoughts, and it sounds like a computer program. But most of the time, it sounds like it's a computer that's attempting to think for me. It's like, there's a doctor who was saying that this Neuralink technology that Elon Musk is coming out with is decades old. It's not new. They're just now, they're showing they have technology. This is what they're showing the public is available, how they can use this technology to make people hear voices. They're showing it to the public. So imagine what they can do that they don't show the public, right? But how do you get the psychiatrist to go, yeah, you're right. We are ignoring decades of evidence that CIA admits to experimenting on people. Yeah, we're ignoring the patents that are out there for this mind control technology. We're ignoring the root causes, which is lack of basic needs, right? Because psychiatrists cannot access their basic needs. They can't pay their mortgage unless they continually give people pills. So subconsciously, they're geared towards to continuously be mind controlled to get access to their basic needs. So it's a whole system change that needs to happen. Because otherwise doctors need us to be sick.
Yeah.
Because they won't get their mortgage if we're not sick, right?
I can speak to that for you.
Yeah.
First thing is especially for you those of you who are hearing voices or hearing people talk to you or even hearing sounds. I get a hissing sound almost 24/7 that I've actually had analyzed. It can actually be recorded and analyzed. But one of the first things you want to do is get a hearing test. It may be a baseline for you, but find out what you're hearing.
I have a normal hearing.
Okay, all right. The second thing you can do is do your own research and take your letters with you. I have a set of like 10 letters that I like to send to people. And my heading is letters you should have. Those are things you can, letters and communications that you can take with you to your doctors or even to share with your family that will validate who you are. One of them is a letter, oh my gosh, 10 to 15 years ago, Pax, who was then Freedom from Covert Surveillance and Harassment, hired a attorney from Colorado named Jonathan Wilson, and he wrote a letter on behalf of the targeted community to the doctors and the lawyers. That could be something that you could have in hand. Dr. Ben Colotson wrote an article that was talking about the neuro warfare that we are experiencing. You can go to YouTube and find valid YouTube videos. Dr. James Giordano, look him up on YouTube. He's got some really perfect information. He is currently a professor at Georgetown University, and his talks, I've watched several of them, was through the Navy Academy. They can't deny these things. I actually have found in my county courthouse some unclassified documents that I received from Army Security and Intelligence at Fort George Meade, Maryland, that actually validates the existence of microwave hearing and microwave heating. I arm myself with these things. I was told back in 2011 to get my paperwork and keep it in order and keep it with me. So I keep stuff with me. And in spite of that, sometimes it doesn't work. But you can always tell when people know that you're telling the truth because they'll fluff you off, but they're going to still look kind of guilty about it. I pray about doctors that I go to. I look for Christians because they're less likely to try to just want to push you on through. Those are the things that I do. Don't think that they don't know about it. I was told maybe in 2003 that by the time we hear about technology that the Department of Defense has, it's been in use for at least 30 years. Yeah. I can tell you the voice to skull goes back to the early 1900s. So imagine how they have perfected the use of it till now. I just happen to be one whose brain has been made a highway for people around the world. And you'd be amazed how many people can drop into my brain space and begin conversations, accusations, or just be mean. Sometimes they can come for competent purposes. But the point is, our brain can be made a highway very easily by all these cell towers and Gwen towers and other means that we see by simple, and they're not simple to us. They actually become complex because of the damage they can do to our brains, but by adding implants into our brains and or our bodies.
Thank you for that. And if you don't mind posting maybe some of the letters or names of the tests, like you were saying that you can hear. You were talking about, I don't know exactly what, I'm sorry, I have it's hard for me to focus sometimes. But there were some tests that you said you could do. And so any type of test, like, do a CT scan for this or anywhere you can tell me to go to, the type of device to use, the type of, and what to look for when you've had everything. I mean, like I said, I've dealt with so many different types of like Havana syndrome to I really don't have any idea. I mean, I have a memory. I have a few years ago, I was in the bathtub and I saw a little black thing in the water, and I was like, "What's that?" And it swam, and I felt a sting in my left hand, and I still have a mark. That sting was. It left a bump, and that bump is still there, and sometimes it itches or whatever. But I don't know if that was like nano. I have no idea. And I just remember I started freaking out. I was like, you see something in the water, and all of a sudden you getting stung. I jumped out of the bathtub, and I started freaking out. But so I've had things that seem like they fly at me through the sky. I mean, like implants and I mean, again, most of the stuff has been, and again, it could be because they are attacking. There's something in my brain that is attached to my somatosensory cortex, right? So that's what there's like a part. It's called the somatis, where it affects sensations in the body. So I'm not saying there was actually something flying at me. Maybe they have something in my brain to make me think that's what was happening. I really do not know. Yeah, so any type of tests that you can, or letters that you would suggest to take to doctors, or specific tests, I would so appreciate, and telling them what to look for.
Sandy, if you could put my email address in the chat, if you'll send me an email, I'll send you the whole packet of the letters. Testing, I've just been honest. People ask me, what do you tell them when you go? I just tell them the truth. When I say tell them the truth, you don't have to tell them you're hearing voices. You don't have to tell them even that you think you're targeted. What I would tell them in the beginning is just the symptoms I were having. A good doctor will follow up on the symptoms. They will order the necessary tests to rule out what might be. Now, I had a medical doctor who told me once that a medical doctor is not supposed to refuse you a test. Now, obviously, they could refuse if they think that it's frivolous, but if you have a sincere reason for believing that you need a specific test on a specific part of the body, honestly tell the doctor and honestly tell the doctor why. And I found success in that. God allowed me to have multiple doctors who were really, really very kind and very credible and very supportive. And because of that, I have been very blessed to be able to collect a lot of documentation that maybe some others have not. But I've always gone at it from an honesty perspective.
I'm putting your information in the chat. I had a couple of questions I was gonna ask, but it's gone now, but it's come back. Any other questions, you guys, comments?
Yeah, this
Yes.
is Renard. I wanted to say that I've experienced what these people are capable of doing to, as far as like making you think of doing something horrible to someone that your family member who's gang stalking you.
Mhm.
Like I've been around my mother and had uncontrollable visions that they were putting in my head to harm her, and I knew that that's what they were doing. And I realized that a weaker person will do what these people can put in your head.
Mm, I was gonna,
And it's important to recognize that. Staying in the here and now is one of the most important things that I learned to do for myself so that I don't get sidetracked. So reminding yourself who you are, reminding yourself who your mother is. I remember going to visit my mother, and the perpetrators would always want me to think she was going to hurt me, especially if I stayed the night. And I had to decide in my own heart that my mother loved me too much to hurt me, and I just go to bed. When it came to, I've not had any real urges to do harm to anyone else, but I do know that just being talked in your head day and night, or sleep deprivation, or being given cues and triggers in your subconscious that you don't recognize, but they do, can be something very specific. I'm going to tell you one right now. Sandy has on orange, and orange used to be a cue for me or trigger for me.
yeah.
And what the way you
I
break it
told
is
Sandy about wearing them colors.
I was gonna wear red, and then I said, well, if I wear red, he's gonna say, then he might be on, he's gonna be leftist. I was gonna wear white, and then I'm like, well, white, that's my cup. They're gonna have all them white cars. I don't feel like seeing all the white cars. I said, you know what? Forget it. But yes. Yes,
but see how conditioned we are.
yes,
We are
yes.
very conditioned to colors. I met Darlene Miles back in 2013. Darlene is a very darling woman who lives in Ohio. At least the last time I communicated with her, she did. And she had on red that particular day. She was taking me to the airport for a meeting in DC. And she said to me, the way I desensitize myself to the colors that they use on me is that I wear them myself. And so I began to do that. And it literally does take away the stress, and it waters down the power of the suggestion that you may be something wrong with you, or that you're going to be put in prison, or you know what I'm saying? And actually, if you look up the meaning of the color orange on the chakra, from the chakra perspective, it actually maps to a part of the body that perhaps if you resist that color, you would cause harm to that part of the body. So listen to this, and it really works. My brother had me to try it. When you say you have a stomach ache,
Mm-hmm.
and orange maps to the belly, right? So if you've got a belly ache, you begin to look at and or eat foods that are orange, it's going to help that part of the belly. and the pain could go away.
Okay. That's
And
powerful.
it's all the way up. So chakras are said to be something that are Eastern religion, sort of. They're not. God uses rainbow, right? He created the rainbow. The pride people wants to take it from us, they cannot.
Yeah.
But the meaning of the colors in the rainbow maps to a specific part of the body that if we eat that food or look upon that color, it will help and bring health to that part of the body.
Okay.
That's pretty simple, isn't it?
Cool.
But
And
if they can make us resist those colors, then those colors cannot be used to help us.
oh,
Dr. Black, I wanted to thank you for saying that because I've been talking to other TIs about the chakras and the energy systems and the fact that they're exploiting our human biofield energy. They're siphoning our
Exactly.
energy from our energy centers and our
Exactly.
chakras. And in the chat, I just put several videos from YouTube that help with this problem.
wow.
That's good.
So I want everybody to take a look at those links and take a look at those videos. When you get those type of videos in your algorithm on YouTube, you start getting a lot of more healing video suggestions. And I found like all the rife frequencies and
Right. Those are important.
those frequencies can heal your body. And I found several channels that have specific videos for a whole lot of host of diseases that they try to, give us.
That's
And I
good.
think I've saved my own life with several of these.
But that's certainly how I've been staying alive. Years ago, a massage therapist taught me about essential oils. And those oils also, the colors of the oils are also important to the parts of the body that we need to have fixed.
Yes,
And so that's
yes.
very, very good. But I encourage all of you, look up color therapy. Just look up color therapy. Aside from chakras,
Yeah.
which some of you may resist the thought of, just look up color therapy and then look up the colors of the rainbow and see what God's intentions was for it. And you'll begin to relax and receive the healing that God has hidden in a color. Isn't it amazing? He's hidden healing in a color.
That is beautiful. Now that's a preach right there, huh? Hidden in a color. And then we've been bound because I'm like, I'm tired of wearing black. I'm like, okay, I can't wear this color. I can't wear this. I don't wear black every day, but I had to start wearing black every day. And that's celebrating someone else that, the witches wear black every day. And I'm like, so this freed me. I'm wearing my colors.
Well, I'll give you a little hint about black too. Another way to look at it, black also matches wealth.
Yeah.
So we don't have to go to the dark side.
Yeah, color therapy. So anyone else have questions, comments? Anyone, you're welcome. Come on.
Well,
Come on in.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say, um, I'm glad you with this, Dr. Black, and I'm sorry about what happened. I did try to call, but they told me I needed to get a code to get any information, so that didn't help. And they're always talking about we're crazy and we have schizophrenia, and they're always doing, stupid stuff. I mean, like my roof, they put a hole in my roof, so my roof was leaking.
Yeah.
And I let them know. And then they came and not only fixed the roof in my building, they fixed the roof in all three buildings. My furnace went out, and then the person across from me, the hall from me, furnace went out. My refrigerator went out, and the person down the hall from me and across the hall from me, refrigerator went out too. It's like everything that happened to me, all of a sudden, then something happened to one of them.
That could be mimicking too, though. That's a part of the mimic the things that happen. Um, it's a part of the targeting called mimicking, or the things that you do. That's like, I don't know if you get that color, or if you walk outside, they all have the same color or the same outfit, or I get that in my neighborhood. But
Yeah, I used to get that when I was working. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was doing. And also, I had talked to my doctor and asked him if he would give me a heavy metals and parasite test. And he told me that there are no parasites in US, only in Asia, Africa, and Brazil. And he told me this on a telecall. So when I went to the appointment to see him, and I asked him again, can I get a test for heavy metals and parasites? And he told me again, there are no parasites in America. And he told me that this would be my last time seeing him, that he's not going to be there to be my doctor anymore.
Wow. You may have to get some of that from natural medicine perspectives. Check your internet. Heavy metal cleanses kits can be purchased from the health food store.
Mhm.
Cilantro, which is just a spice that can be put on I know a lot of Mexican foods. Cilantro can pull heavy metals out of your body, as can chlorella. And believe it or not, if you drink a gallon of distilled water once a week, it's said to pull heavy metals out your body. At one point, I was only drinking distilled water, and it can also pull minerals out, so you have to be careful about becoming imbalanced. But there are ways to do the heavy metal cleanse. Now, for parasites, that you can also get things at the health food store for that. I know wormwood, which is a bitter herb, can be used to break up parasites. So do your homework. Go to the internet, type in what natural medicine or natural means would address this situation, and you'll be amazed. It's something out there for almost everything.
Yeah, I got some. I just wanted to let y'all know what they have, I guess, instructed my doctor to say. And now all of a sudden I can't see him anymore because he's not he's not going to be working there anymore since I asked him that. And he lied about it.
Hey, I just typed in the chat. I don't mean to interrupt. I just typed in the chat the way that you guys can actually cleanse from heavy metals and parasites for with very little effort. All you gotta do is click on the video and let it play.
Thank you. And I got one more last thing to say. I was out in the hallway when they were bringing our refrigerators in the other day. And I guess the owner of one of the units down the hall came over here and asked me if I had bed bugs. I was like, no, why? He was like, because the people in the unit down the hall from me have bed bugs. And I was like, no, I don't have bed bugs. And if I do, they planted them in here. And so yesterday and the day before yesterday, they were spraying in the hallway. And it was so strong, it was coming through the house and it made me and my daughter sick. Mind you, at the time they did this, everybody else in the building was at work. Only me and my daughter were here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how the things that we go through.
Yeah.
So wrong and so sad, but so we can all talk about these little things. The smell, kerosene smell, or whatever type of smell that is that comes and goes. But I'm sure we all can relate to that. When I'm talking about smelling that smell.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me talk, and I'm so glad you're okay, Dr. Black.
Thank you. Appreciate your prayers.
Thank you for your comments. Thanks. Anyone else? Comments? Questions? Comments? Well, what do you feel about Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, being shot? I think it kind of, that's where I had my contract. I work for United Healthcare. Of course, I can't, they won't hire me. There's job, they won't hire me because of this. It's always something, but that's my contract. That's who I work for. United Healthcare, WellMed, Optimum, they all owned by that. And so
Learning the deaths of young people, especially in the prime of life, is concerning to me. My mind usually automatically goes to foul play, unless it was and even if it's some medical condition that, it's so unusual. One of the things that we pray is that God will not allow us to have any untimely deaths in this community. And I would call his death untimely. We don't know if he was going to begin to blow the whistle on something. You'll remember the guy with Boeing.
Yes,
There was a whistleblower with Boeing, and he ended up dead
yeah,
right before he was going to testify. So we do know that corporations do involve themselves in these programs. We know that they are able to put us on the list, quote unquote. And sometimes they may pay for the hastening of the death of some of their employees if they decide that they become a quote unquote problem. So that's something that we may never know the real answer to.
yeah. So I like what you said too about no untimely death. Gotta pray that prayer as well, you know, and also not looking like the been. God keeps us golden and shining. We know it's horrific. We know that it's only by the grace of God that we're able to walk. And, you know, being under radiation 24/7, you know, we would normally make it. Ourselves would normally make it. But it's by the grace that we're even walking and talking, be able to communicate, you know. We want it to end, you know, but we still give God glory for even being able to do what we're doing and communicate, you know. So, and I see a long chat. Is that from whomever wants to say something? Come on. You're welcome. Come on, I'll read the chat.
Yeah, I'm just really interested in hearing more people talking about living as the Creator wants us to do. The Creator gives us gifts. We were
Yeah.
given the sun, we were given the trees and the mountains, and I believe that the Creator actually can make buildings and houses too, not just the mountains and the oceans. And I want us to see, and Christ didn't ask for payment when he did healings, right? It was the Roman Empire that forced that, right? It's the Egyptian slave system. It's the Sumerian idea of money mind control that we are still locked into the system of slavery. And I want to hear more and more people talk about how basic needs need to be the law. Everybody gets a house. I don't care. I don't care if you're a drug addict. I don't care who you are. You need to get access to your basic needs because the whole community is going to be safe and well. There needs to be law that not a bank is not allowed to steal your home because of what you know what I'm saying. We need to change the whole system to be not without. And I believe we need to go to a gift economy. We all got access to our basic needs and a basic need is to have a role or a job in the community. That's we all want to be a part of that. Everybody wants to do something. Right? I mean, that's natural. But when we're forced or coerced, that's human trafficking. That's because we're forced to coerce. You're going to lose your house if you don't keep working 40 hours a week. You're going to lose your house. So of course, it creates an autonomic fight, flight, freeze response in the whole society where we're always like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose. You know what I mean? Because your basic needs for survival are threatened. We've got millions and millions there's 15 million empty houses. There's 5 million hotel rooms. There's empty churches everywhere. Why? And we've got people with parents with children walking by, people sleeping on the ground still.
Yeah.
We got jets flying through the sky, all this technology. Of course, it's going to be turned to evil if we don't have loving kindness as the foundation, of course. So we need to stomp that out by everybody's suggesting it. You find it wherever you go. You go to your church and you say, why isn't my church open 24/7 for the people who are sleeping outside right now? We're going to send people over. Let's send mission trips, right? Thousands of dollars they'll spend to send people overseas. When you got people sleeping on the ground, I was sleeping outside of a church right here in the South. And they rather me sleep on the ground than just open up the doors, and they use excuse, because they'll come and those homeless will come and destroy. Well, keep someone in there volunteering to make sure that doesn't happen. Have a community kitchen. Until we actually get this started. I mean, right now, the churches. Like I said, there should be hotel vouchers everywhere. There is no reason whatsoever that we can't all have a home.
That's right.
And it's sickness, and we got to get out of this money mind control. It's causing us all slavery, and we all need to say, listen, I got access to my basic needs. That's the law. Of course, you're still going to do some kind of work. You're going to do some type of job because we all want to be a part of the community. And I'm just done with it. It doesn't work. If it worked thousands and thousands of years after Christ walked the earth, right? We got all this we still got people sleeping outside. It doesn't make any sense. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
Well, and I agree because God made church supposed to be like your church, refuge, it's supposed to be the place that we go when we have nowhere else to go. It was always, the church was the place where if we couldn't pay bills, the church was the place that we would go because that was the beacon of society, our refuge to take care of me. We didn't have welfare and homelessness, and, but we got mega churches. We got mega churches sitting empty, and we got, you're right, people homeless outside. So there's a disconnect, and God's not happy with that either. You know what I mean? Because it became a money thing. He wants us, of course, to have the best because we are children of the Most High. Of course, we're all supposed to have the best, but it changed. The church changed. The mission of the church changed. So it's like a big old nightclub, a big old money machine. So God is not happy with that as well. So you're right on all these things. I think that we all, the American dream, should have access, should be able by age 18 to be able to have a house. We get to learn, they'll teach us how to maintain the home or whatever, but a basic house. If you want more than with your education, then you buy one. But I think that's, other countries, you are given a home. And I think that's a great idea. We all were at the age of 18, once you graduate with your diploma, you get a house. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I would not say no.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so obvious. Would you rather live in a society where you had access to your quality basic needs or a society where you didn't? And I can't imagine that anybody is going to choose to not have that because you put yourself at risk, right? And it's just greed. It's just we got to they keep doing the same narrative. Oh, he who does not work, neither let him eat. Well, trust me when I tell you that people are sometimes so down, they just need to be fed. They just need, we got to stop bringing old school God. Old school God was kind of, you notice how God progressed in consciousness, just like we do. We progress in consciousness, and so does God. And God brings Christ to say, listen, you don't have to be circumcised. You don't have to do these, if you follow the command of love, that's actually following the whole of the law. But it's hard because love is a skill. It's a skill because when you get an autonomic nervous system state, fight, flight, freeze, a culture of violence, right? We associate it we go to the movies and we're sitting there drinking sweet drinks and eating popcorn while we're watching people get killed. So we're feeding our conscious and our subconscious mind with this stuff. And we're all mass mind control to think it's okay. Oh, they're just acting. I don't know that they're just acting, honestly. I was watching something and I'm like, I fast forward now. And it's so hard. If you look at the list there's so 90% of what's on television seems to have violence in it. Even the cartoons. It's nuts. And so we got to call it all out and end it for ourselves. And I just want to say too, in my own life, when I worked as a healthcare worker, I was working in nursing homes, and I did a contract work for a long time. And I would notice in I have to root out my own ideals of slavery because we've been mind controlled. Hey, if you get a leg up, if you become a rich person, right? Then you end up having, it's like we have slaves for the slaves. We're all slaves in it, but they get you, well, at least you're not that homeless person, at least you're not that person in jail, and you get up to more middle class, and now you're making more money than the people who is working at McDonald's or whatever, right? And so you get to have they provide slaves for the slaves. Okay, that's how we're subconsciously geared towards having to be a part of that when we think, oh, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to get rich, and then I'm going to win the lottery. And you know what I mean? And they get you into that money mind control by thinking because you recognize you get nicer things. You get nicer things. You get access to better stuff. And so, I mean, that's why you got these women, I think my mother's, upper middle class, and you go and you have the slaves doing your nails, who are making, pennies, right? Sleeping in worse conditions. So we all have that. We all have that within us, that desire to not to have slaves per se, but to have less, I guess, maybe less work, or I don't know. It's insidious is what I'm saying. It's insidious. It's hidden in us how we participate in it.
I understand how you feel about being in this program. And it's very eye-opening too. I mean, it's humbling, that's for sure. You know, a lot of us are living in where we've never lived, you know, before. I mean, I have to say I'm grateful for the house that's being direct energy weapon is burning down and tearing down and attacking. But I have to one day pray that I am under a roof, you know, because this program, a lot of people aren't under, they're living in the car. It's just, so, and even in this pain, there is humility. And
Absolutely. And Sandy, there is Tyler Perry movie that I really like. It has a lot of spiritual meanings. It's entitled A Family That Prays, Preys. And there was a guy in there named Nick, I believe, who was a homeless man, and he would come into the restaurant that Alfred Woodard, um,
yeah.
yeah, that she owned. I'm trying to make sure I've got the right person, Alfred Woodard. I think that was her.
I forgot
But
the lady who owned the restaurant. Well,
yeah, I think it was her. If it wasn't her, it was the other one. I'll have to look it up. It was, you do know, it was Alfred Woodard and Bette Midler that starred in it. But anyway, he would go into the restaurant.
Yes.
And she'd always send him straight to the back. She'd tell her daughter, take him to the back so he could clean up. And in the back, she would have for him a set of clean clothes. And when he came back to the front, she would always feed him.
Yeah.
Now, looking at him, he just looked very dirty and very unkept. He was a young man, though. And when I say young, he maybe was in his 40s. And no one would have ever believed that he was a brilliant economist.
Right. That was a beautiful story. Yeah.
So it kind of gets back to the entertaining angels unawares, because what Nick was doing was he would come in and he was giving the owner tips on where to buy stock.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, it came out that he had worked for the company that Bette Midler owned, and
Kathy
he had
Bates.
stopped. Say that again.
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates. Thank you. That she owned, and his stock with the stock that Alfred Woodard owned were the two that helped her keep the company when her son had decided to put her out.
Yeah.
And they had tons of money.
Yeah.
Well, he had worked for their company, and he had gotten put out. As a result of getting put out, either he had either already lost part of his family or had lost his family after that, and he just flopped into a bout of depression. So he was having an affective disorder. Whereas if anyone else had looked at him and possibly even talked to him, a psychologist would have saddled him with the diagnosis of schizophrenia. But he was having an affect of the losses in his life that had so dramatically affected his thought processes, his behavior, even the way he saw himself. So that love and accept myself completely had left him.
Yeah.
But so what I'm getting at is we can't look at people and tell where they are. And we can't see someone who's down and decide he was just a third grade dropout. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because we could be there.
Yes.
And there are some very intelligent, and we're all educated.
Yeah.
We're all educated. The majority of us, I have met very few. I mean, only like maybe a handful of people who were not college graduates in the TI community. A significant number of us have master's degrees. So they don't go after those who are uneducated. They go after those who have some intelligence so that they can break us down, make us look unintelligent, unimportant. You know what I'm saying? Take away who you are and try to redefine you. And it's our job
That's
to
so
not
deep,
accept.
Dr. Black.
Say that again?
I just wanted to say that that was so deep because you reminded me of who I am. I was an honors student all throughout school, and then I went to the Air Force, and I found out that they was using my brain to advance their system. They've been using my brain while I was in the military from 98 to '06. That was a time where they were getting people conditioned to full government, criminality with Bush. And I was just sitting there thinking all these thoughts that not knowing my mind is being read. And I just feel like I'm a major military guinea pig because of where they had me at.
Free thinker is what you identified as, I'm sure. And they know who they can and cannot control in those ways, who they can and cannot break down to certain areas. And even now, you're more of a guinea pig now because they think they've gotten you down. And the way to defeat them is to get up. One of my coworkers, she used to tell me, she said, Millicent, we always get up. That's what they don't like about us. We keep getting up. But that's the way to defeat them. You keep getting up. Keep remembering who you are and treat yourself like who God has created you to be.
Beautiful. Yeah. Someone wants your brain, that you're intelligent, and someone wants to copy your brain, your thoughts. That's enough to hear every day. Someone wants my brain because I'm that intelligent. I'm smart. I'm a child of the Most High God.
We have to keep putting the creator in the mix. He should always listen. He should always be at the head.
Oh, that's a shirt. Yeah, that's a good one. Like the Jesus Christ should always be the Lord and Savior should always be at the head, at the beginning. All of it. Huh. That's good. Wow. Any other questions, comments?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes. Come on. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, it's Deborah. I'm alive. I'm alive. Just to fill everybody in. I've moved and I'm in a hotel and I'm moving to a place and Sandra has
She's
been
with me.
yeah, I'm here and looking for
Real
anyway, so
TI in San Antonio with me.
yep. I was getting gassed. And like Dr. Black said, I'm a scientist, so I was documenting it and I ordered they broke my air quality meter. I have all this equipment and it's mainly the cyber shield they wanted to get to, but so yeah, they were trying to degas, and it wasn't the thermostat. I documented it was another one controlled by the hotel, and I brought it up last night, and the receptionist walked out the front door, and then they had a psyop of a guy in a trench coat and everything, and it was just ridiculous. But so they were just waiting for me to go out to the front desk to get anyway. So I'm alive and okay. I have a sore throat, the coughing and stuff. When I sent the emails, it decreased, which was good. I sent out stuff. I'm going to keep doing that. And today, the manager, who is completely a criminal agent, but she's not, I don't think she's the manager because she has to always go ask questions. She said, well, I've talked to you every day and you haven't said anything. Now they're scared. And I'm like, we haven't talked every day. I mean, no, I don't go to the front desk every day. So, anyway, they first were wanting me to check out today. And then now they're giving me till tomorrow, and the whole hotel is full, which we know is impossible.
Right.
She's like, oh, all the 2 beds are already resolved. I didn't ask for 2 beds. So yeah, anyway, I have to, just so you know, Sandy, check out tomorrow. So, let's get something rolling. And is there anybody else in San Diego that needs help? So San Diego, oh my God, San Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm just, documenting, and I sent stuff because things disappear off my phone. I sent pictures and texts and stuff out, but I documented that by the window, which is controlled by the hotel, it's on low cool and it's shooting out ice cold air with the gas in it, and it's like a cloudy, foggy gas. And then the one I control is the thermostat in the room on heat. So, you know, I can't turn it off. I've looked, I can't unplug it. I've looked. And yeah, it's just so obvious the stuff they do. And I've had runny eyes, runny nose, my throat is hoarse. I've coughed, you know, stuff like that. So I've had basically a wet towel over my face most of the time. That seems to help because it catches it. So yeah, the targeting program is real. They're very I think they're afraid of the inauguration. I don't know, but they're definitely, you know, this is not hospitality. God wants us to have hospitality. This is not it. So, but yeah, God bless you. Thank you for this show. And I pray that, I pray that I have, you know, the housing that
Yeah.
Holy Spirit has selected. So, yep. So, yay.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. So God bless all of you, and thanks for having this call. And yeah, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I would like to say something else too. We really need to stand up. I hope things get better for our whole country and other countries, because the things that they're doing to us, they're trying to make them laws, and the laws to protect them and not protect us. And when I say them, I mean high officials like police officers, the federal government, doctors, lawyers. They're trying to make laws to protect them and not us, just regular people.
Yeah, you're right. We are standing up. We won't take this anymore. And we're not sitting under a rug. We are letting our light shine. We're exposing, and God is exposing and disposing. So, right. Thank you for that.
What would help us, Dana, is if they would just enforce the laws that are already on the books.
About that.
Maine, Michigan,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, I believe, have laws against directed energy weapons that are not being enforced.
Exactly,
And
because I'm
other
in
states
Michigan
have,
and I get hit every day.
exactly. So we just need the ones that are on the books to be enforced. We have
Yeah.
one in the state of Tennessee. Last year, they decided to close any loops that would allow for slavery of any kind in Tennessee. And yet, human trafficking is nothing less than involuntary servitude, which is slavery. We just need them enforced.
Let me see. I see here.
And also, it was Senator or Congressman Wyden said on a YouTube that these companies are being told to target us and they're being paid. Major companies like T-Mobile, because they're doing it to me big time, and all the other major companies. A congressman said this on YouTube, and it needs to stop.
That's right. AT&T, they're all involved. Smart TVs. Any other comment? Question? And then
I just wanted to. I also wanted to recommend for TIs that may have not thought of this, but I recently started putting copper and silver wire on my body and on my wrist, my leg, and it really and on my head, around my head, and it really has seemed to help with lessening the amount of directed energy hits that I was feeling.
And I know Deborah had there's a hat that she made. Deborah, I know she made some type of shielding as well for her head. And where she is, she doesn't know the community, so she moved without asking me where she was going, but she's right now.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Hi, I was just telling them that you have built a shield covering.
Right. I'm into, I have a science background. So So copper you have to insulate or they can use it against you. Copper grounds on your head. So a helmet is good. A helmet with copper is good because it's grounded and it blocks it. But anywhere on your body, it needs to be insulated between the silver and copper and your body because they can use it as a capacitor or like a battery. So whatever you have anywhere on your body other than your head, and that's even your neck, it needs to have insulation. And the best insulation is silicone rubber. And the best one I've found, I've tested many things. The computer repair pads, they're like $10. And it's what people use when they're repairing computers, and they stop static, they stop radiation, and they take up to 932 degrees of heat. So that's important to always have silicone between you and copper. And those repair pads are nice because they're already made.
I haven't seen the need for insulation. I've seen the drastic reduction in what they've been doing, but I will take your advice into consideration.
Yes, yes. And remember, everything's a deception. And they will do things until they need to really hurt you. So I had a friend that's a TI that he put copper on his chest. We told him not to, but then they tried to give him a heart attack because we're like, why wasn't it insulated? You know, and so they don't always, they wait and watch and use it when they can. So it's good for us to be prepared at all times, like Jesus says, be prepared at all times for what they might do. But copper and silver wire is helping them on your skin. It's helping them because it's the most conductive metal there is copper. So it's
I
getting
don't think it's helping them because I made bracelets out of it. I made bracelets out of it and twisted them together. And all I can tell you is I've seen, and I have witnessed that I've seen a reduction in their abilities
but
to
they could be
make
turning
me
it off.
feel
That's
those
what I'm
hits.
saying. They're turning it off to deceive you. Measure with equipment, measure with scientific equipment. I only go with evidence-based.
They cut her. Yeah, are you guys still there?
I'm still here.
Maybe she's in the hotel, so they might have cut her. Okay, well,
She may have gotten cut off because I got cut off twice.
yeah, and she's she's right by the FBI, and I told her she didn't know where she was going, so she didn't wait for me to we missed each other, so she found a hotel right by the FBI and the fusion center. So, like, you got to get out of there. So she's gonna move tomorrow. So
I would be going over there talking to them, asking them questions.
yeah, I went. They wouldn't see me. I drove over there. Didn't really know what questions to ask yet, but they wouldn't see me.
Wow.
Yeah, they're here. We have the fusion center. We have the FBI down the street from it, and then CarMax. CarMax is where the gang stalkers rent their cars, get the cars that they use to stalk us and follow. So most of them come from CarMax. So they come from their training, they get a car, and then they hit the road. Corpus Christi is another training place that I was told by the Lord, where they get their training for here as well. So they all go down to Corpus, get their training, they do the book and learn, different levels. So I want to get her out there. And also, so I guess if you don't have any, it's 1:41, so we got a few minutes. I wanted to, Dr. Millicent, if you can talk more about your Christmas special on your book. We got about 15 more minutes.
Okay, I want just to invite you to, I guess, as you consider your Christmas purchases.
Yeah.
Many of us may not have lots of Christmas shopping money, but our book, the devotional that the church members put out, it's entitled Refuge from the Storm,
Yes.
Devotions to Anchor Your Spirit. can be purchased on Amazon. The price is $19.99. We're considering trying to run maybe a special for the Christmas holidays to drop the price maybe to $15. But that could be something that would hopefully be a blessing to you. Also, my book is still on purchase at Amazon. It's entitled Empowering Women Who Suffer in Silence from Domestic Abuse, from Victim to Voice. And it is also $19.99. That book has an introduction that talks about what we're going through, though the book itself is geared towards spiritual living. And that's how God and Jesus dealt with victims of domestic violence, all women. But then how the church looked at the issue, as well as what new technologies and principles and practices are today. So it's an important, it can be a very important and uplifting tool to help a woman deal with her own feelings of perhaps rejection, abuse, misuse, mistreatment from a biblical perspective. And also in the very back is just a little bit about my own journey in this targeting program that has actually been domestic violence, domestic terrorism, human trafficking, you name it. It's been an unpleasant trip, but God has kept us through it.
It's definitely a testimony. Definitely, you know, just 3 weeks ago. Is it 3 weeks? Almost 3 weeks ago, or well, has it been a month yet that you were in a different place? And you know, look how God turns things around where you're on, you know, on to something else. Okay, I build her up. You know, you learn something from there that you're able to teach us, and then you're on to the next. You know,
One of the promises that I got from God early in this program, and I mean back in the early 2000s, was what the devil uses to bring you down, I will use to bring you up.
Mm.
And in many instances, I've seen that in action. I'm waiting for yet another bringing me up and out. However, he's still faithful and he's still able. And so we wait on him to do what only he can do.
and so Christmas to come as a family. So
Christmas is coming.
yes, we're gonna do Christmas Eve for your for church. We're gonna be
Right, Christmas Eve candlelight service. We invite all of you to come. It'll be on our church channel, which you can find the information on refugefromthestormchurch.org. There you'll find links to the books. You will also find the schedule for our church services, as well as the call-in numbers and how to reach us. Also, just keep in mind that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, we are holding prayer. We have learned that it's really real, that little prayer, little power, much prayer, much power. And of course, in the middle is some prayer, some power. So if we are those who want much power and that's much power of God at work in our lives and our situations, we want to give ourselves to prayer. Just to kind of a heads up, for January is I guess that would be our 6th annual, maybe 7th annual candlelight service for justice. We like to start the year off reminding God that we're still waiting on him and believing that he is the only one that can bring justice into our lives. Though he may choose to use man to do so, we still know that it's the active power of God at work on our behalf. And so each January, we have a candlelight service for justice where we light a candle for each state. So during the service, we will have a name calling. We call out each state, and as your state is called, you light your candle. And once we finish, we believe that we'll have candles lit all over the nation.
wow, awesome.
So that's coming up about January 15th or 16th. It's the middle of the month in January. And then we're kind of still up in the air if we will have another fifth Wednesday prayer service. There's also a fifth Wednesday in January. So we may have a time for 2 times for prayer in January. Just stay tuned. If you'd like to participate in the Christmas program, give me a call. If you have a special skill, would like to sing a carol or read one of the scripture passages, regarding the birth of Jesus Christ, give me a call or email or text and let me know. I'll be happy to add you in.
Awesome. Well,
I guess we have had a great meeting again. It was such a blessing to see you again. I haven't seen you in a couple of months. We had, the phones have been jacking up. They've been trying to keep us from each other. But God is good because we're right back in that, right back on it, giving God glory. Is there anything else? We are getting ready to close. Any other comments? I will reach out to everyone if you have any. I put Dr. Black's information in the chat. And also, what's your website again? Your name of your church?
The name of the church is Refuge from the Storm Church.
Yes.
It's considered a conference call church. We're registered in the state of Tennessee as a valid religious organization. Also, my email address is mgrace321@gmail.com if you would like to write regarding the letters that I suggest you can use to help you in explaining your situations to doctor, lawyer, or family members, as well as if you would like to be included in our Christmas candlelight communion service.
Thank you.
It's Christmas Eve, actually.
Christmas Eve, yes. And I'll be there. Okay, well, I thank you so much again, Dr. Black, for being here with us with your knowledge. My name is Sandra, and I'm host of the I Shall Bloom Show. I can be reached at ishallbloom.com. My YouTube channel is I Shall Bloom Talk Show. My phone number is 210-986-9881. And remember, I shall bloom, you shall bloom, and I shall bloom. Bye now. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, thank you both so much. I
Bye.
just sent out an email to M. Grace. Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Yes. Hey, Jess.
Hey, Sandy. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Jess. All righty, you guys. God bless. Deborah, I'll call you later. Hi, Sandra. I didn't speak.
Thank you. Great show. Have a good day, y'all.
Yes, have a great one.